What's going on, everybody? We are live with episode 72 of The Scope, and I like to start every episode, most generally, by thanking you guys for being here. I appreciate it, the fact that you come listen to us talk about FPS games. It's actually an honor, and it makes Mondays bearable. We appreciate everyone so much for being here, and I also appreciate, to my left, your right, BlueTheRobot. What's up, man?
Hey everyone, I'm back.
He's
I was
back.
a little sick last time.
Feeling better, eh?
Yeah, 10 times better. No more like dying on the side of my bed. Just it was the whole house got sick, and then my brother got sick. My dad was just sick a couple days ago. It's like everyone was getting sick.
Man, I'm terrified because we have the new little baby, and we haven't had, knock on wood, we haven't had his first sickness yet. But we took him on a little trip to go see my folks. There's a couple of people coughing. It's like, I think it's just allergies, and I'm like, get away. I'm like, I'm not looking forward to the first time sickness rolls through our house.
Yeah, it's scary. I still remember the very first time. It was actually, the very first time we ever got hospitalized was the beginning of COVID, and we didn't know it was COVID. And he made it through fine, but that was, they called it a respiratory issue back then before it was labeled. So it was pretty scary. That was, it happens at every point. I mean, I remember when I was in the hospital when I was a kid, and my dad was just making jokes the entire time, but
Oh geez. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. It's eventually gonna happen. Everybody's got to get sick at some point, but I'm not looking forward to it.
Builds immune, and wait till they start school. Then it's like a whole nother wave, dude. But it builds their immune system, man. They got to get through it.
Yep. It's a double-edged sword. I feel like I don't talk to you anymore. Are you in like space or something? Like, what have you been doing? Are you?
I see that. That was good. Dude, I have been absolutely hooked. I haven't felt like this over a game in a few years, pretty much. Like the fact that I'm out doing what I need to be doing, or just sitting at home, like, oh, man, I kind of wish I was playing Star Citizen right now, which is crazy because it's the buggiest, most unstable game ever in 10 years of development, and it's still only in alpha.
Dude, that's crazy. I don't know much about Star Citizen. Never played it.
I'm falling down the rabbit hole very quickly myself.
You're not the only one. It doesn't sound like it seems like a lot of folks are.
Yeah, so apparently the biggest influx of players, of course, was during 2020 to 2022 because everyone was stuck inside, so everyone started gaming more, and people started finding about this game a lot. I guess like a revive of the project, and it's not like it never stopped being developed, but I remember when I first heard about it, and it was around like the $30 million mark of funding, and I was like, holy crap, that's crazy, and then a couple years later it went down and just kept going and going. I just kind of forgot about it, didn't really care for it. I bought it like a year ago. I played it for like a day and a half, and I got like less than 30 FPS in like the major main city that's like the crown jewel of the game, and I was like, this game is not worth it. This game is not, I bought it, I had $45. I'll just sit on it. I'll wait till I'll come back when I got a better PC. That's when I had like a 1060 back then too. And I was like, I'll wait till I get a better PC. I'll see what happens then. And all of a sudden now I'm literally playing it every night till like 2-3 o'clock in the morning.
Really? Like, what do you do in it? Like, what's an elevator pitch for an idiot like me? Like, just a couple sentences. Like, what do you?
Oh Lord!
Can you even break it down?
I don't even know if I'm like qualified for this. I just realized I'm looking at my ceiling. There's a damn spider web connected to my ring light. What the? Anyways,
it's fine. He'll drop down on you at any moment. Guys, stay tuned to the podcast to see if the spider kamikazes off the web and lands on my
gun next to me. I'll shoot it.
You have one of those bug salt guns that shoots salt?
Dude, those are actually kind of cool.
They're sweet. I got one. They're sweet. I don't know what it is, but it's a lot of fun.
But yeah, no. So the craziest part is that when I made the video about it, and I, was talking about the influx of money, people spending $200, $300, $400, even $1,000 in the game personally, and the amount of money that's already been into the game from 2017. It was listed. It was like, you know, $34 million, something like that. And it originally like started in like 2012, late 2012, then 2013 mainly. And now in 2023, it's sitting, and I have it up right here at $584,662,209 from 4.6 million backers. That's just on their website.
That's just
And
crowdfunding.
that's just crowdfunding,
Not even like
not even
purchasing the game.
investment. And well, I think so.
Does
I
that
think like
count?
purchasing the game. Yeah, there's upgrades you could buy. There's you know, I'm guessing they included their Kickstarter as well too. So yeah, it's pretty crazy how much money has gone into this game. And the fact that people are still playing it. And but again, there's a big influx of players, and the total amount of players per day currently, and this is a couple of websites, because it's not on Steam. So you kind of have to look around, and between MMOstats.com, MMOpopulation.com, and playerauctions.com. Let's see. So it says on two websites, it's between 414,000 to 565,000 total player base daily.
That's crazy.
So, but it also says on another website that it's about 3,000. But I don't know how true that is. 3,000 players seems a little bit more like it, to be honest. So I don't know where these people are getting their numbers, but 3,000, 500,000. We'll see. I don't know if anyone can comment that. I'm pretty sure I'll talk about that in my next video of what the player base is. But
well, either way you slice it, that's a lot.
That's still a pretty good amount for a game that's been out for 10 years. And has been promised so many things. And I went down the rabbit hole of like the main guy, the developer for Star Citizen. What is his name again? Because he made a game back in the 90s called Wing Commander. I don't know if you ever seen that game, or even there is a movie based on that game that he directed as well too, called Wing Commander. And funny enough, I had a you remember the old Scooby-Doo movie? Like the live action Scooby-Doo movie that came out, like Freddie Prinze Jr. and stuff like that. But like the actors that were in it. Yeah. So like those two were in Wing Commander, which is funny enough.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, Cloud Imperium Games is the main guy. Chris Roberts is the guy that is basically leading all this. And apparently now they have like 7 different studios in like 5 different cities around the world, over 300 employees. And yet there's, like content's coming out, which is the funny part. They just recently released 3.19, which was a big thing because they introduced salvaging ships and stuff like that. But, I don't know if you ever seen some of the trailers before for this game.
Yeah, and I've watched a few streams of people play it. Most of the time when I hear about Star Citizen, it's people like complaining
like
about it.
Yeah, complaining. Money pit.
I think wasn't there an update like a while back that broke it for a lot of people? They couldn't even launch it, like for a certain subset of people want to build a Windows.
I remember when I first heard about it, they were selling plots of land in real life in the game for real life money. It was like $50 per plot of land, almost like an Earth 2 type of debacle. And then they got rid of that. And then there was a pack that was worth over $272,000 for basically everything in the game. And the only way you can reach that is to spend over $1,000 or $1,000 plus to even start like getting into a certain level of players to be able to like look at purchasing that. So that just, and then there's been multiple studies of people getting interviewed of like, why would you spend this? A lot of these guys also end up being like software engineers too. Like they just got money coming in. They got a wife too. And some of these guys have wives, and they're like, we just all talked about the wife about that. That's just a bill, like. So
what an interesting like
money.
What just like an interesting ecosystem like around that game. I've just heard people talk about mostly negative stuff about it in passing, but you got me wanting to watch more content on it. I'll probably watch some more stuff on it.
I would definitely like check out some of the interviews we've seen him. I'll send you some links. But like for the elevator pitch more specifically, I would say it's kind of just you have an open world persistent universe of space exploration, pretty much.
No
So
Man's
like
Sky,
everything,
kinda?
yeah, but on a more incredible detail. Cause like I played No Man's Sky. I played a lot of. There's another game on that's both on console and PC called Elite Dangerous, and I put over 300, 400 hours into that, both on console and PC. And it's also like open universe. You can land planets to planet, stuff like that. But this one is something about it. I don't know what it is yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. But they just had, I think it ends tomorrow, a free fly event. Or they're a little like free to play weekend that people can come and stuff like that. That apparently bogs down the servers because it's just a bunch of new players, huge influx. You can rent ships and you can rent the biggest ones. So you got new players bringing out the biggest ships, crashing, and everything stays. So like if you go to one planet, someone crashes on another planet, you can go to that planet and see that crash. Like all the little details and stuff like that.
So there's a shitload of server side info that has to be kept track
So
of and pushed
much.
out.
Yeah, but definitely like I've experienced so far the worst part of it because apparently 3.18 was a bad update that broke some stuff and 3.19 is trying to fix it. So then they got 3.20 coming out, I think by quarter 3. So I'm waiting to see how the game feels like after free fly, if it's any better. When the servers aren't just being bombarded with new players, and they got convention centers that are happening right now that it's like 400 NPCs in one spot. So of course that's gonna do some stuff to the servers as well too. And yeah, like everything, like people who drink a bottle of water, they just drop it on the ground. That bottle stays there. So when you have multiple players all doing that, all these little items and stuff like that, I really feel like that's a big issue, big downside for the servers. So servers are the biggest thing. I could deal with some of the bugs. Like I haven't really ran into too many issues. It's all server side stuff. So hopefully that gets fixed. But again, I've been stuck on it. Me and Custer have been stuck on it. The Discord's been popping off. People just hanging out. And I've met people that have spent already over $1,000, and I asked them why. It's because they really feel like they're supporting the game even more, which is crazy to me. Because then here we are talking about I'm tired of live service games, but this is like the epitome of a live service game.
And crowdfunding, which is generally like a huge red flag for me.
Exactly. Yeah, this was one of the main Kickstarter. Like I feel like this is what really put like Kickstarter. No, maybe not Kickstarter on the map, but definitely opened up a lot of eyes to people. Like, whoa, this guy got $30 million from Kickstarter, kind of thing, and now it's even more.
That's weird, man. I think I'm gonna sit on the sidelines for now and
it's
watch.
Weird, and
it's interesting.
I wouldn't put money into it now. If I'm being honest, I bought it a year ago just on a whim. He's like, don't worry. But yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just enjoying my time there. I guess
cool,
again,
man.
there's nothing else out right now, man. I'm just
I'm jealous. I'm jealous you have a game that you're like super excited about and amped to play. Oh man, I've been playing dude, and everybody, thank you guys so much for coming by the Twitch streams. I know some of you folks from Twitch are here for the podcast today. Like, dude, my Twitch streams have been bussing, man. Playing Rainbow Six.
I've been checking that out, man. Yeah, seriously.
So it's been a lot of fun. I've just been playing Rainbow and drinking fairly heavily, and just having a good time with friends. That's just Rainbow. A game. I think that'll probably always be like one of my favorite FPSs of all time. Just because like the teamwork, the comms when you play with people that gel together, just like reaching these goals and solving problems real time as a squad together. The team play is just what I love so much. You couldn't pay me to solo queue in that game. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for the new season tomorrow. Fixing the consulate map, brand new rework on that, new op. New lots of stuff for that game in year 8, so that's pretty cool. That's the game that I have the most hours in. I probably have more hours in Battlefield if you add up the different installments together. I probably have more overall
Mhm.
hours in the Battlefield franchise, but as far as one game, I probably have the most hours in Siege. But that's what I've been playing and been enjoying
Especially
it.
because you have like console time too, right?
Yeah, a little bit
Yeah.
before I switched over.
Was
So
it? Did
yeah.
you? Yeah. Did you put a lot of hours into the console before you switched over to PC for Rainbow
No,
Six?
that was towards the end
No.
of my probably only a couple hundred hours. That was kind of towards the end of my console stage of my life. But I switched over before
Now
I
we're
saw the
PC
light.
Master Race.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. Like it's dry, and we'll talk about it a little bit later with some small studios shutting down and having trouble, which is really sad. And we're seeing kind of a shift towards a trickle down kind of economics in FPS games right now, where the AAA studios are making more money, and the lower indie studios are making less. So there's kind of a crappy shift going on, but there's some stuff out there that still got me hopeful, man. I'm not ready to bury the genre of FPS games yet. I feel like
Nah.
I'm kind of optimistic for some stuff coming up. I think I'm mainly like with the former DICE developers, what they're up to. We'll talk about TTK Studios in a little bit and what Embark Studios has got going on with everybody kind of I would say
Yeah,
at
I got
least
my thoughts on that for sure too.
yeah, I think with at least I would say probably even if it's a small majority, still a majority of Battlefield fans kind of disenfranchised with what's going on over there. That there's some of the old guard from DICE is putting some stuff together that's interesting.
What was the
We're
one?
talking
The
about
guy that won over from Battlefield. He made Battlefield 3 back to Lars
Lars Gustafson.
Gustafson, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Battlefield. Like he was the dude. Like
Mr. Battlefield.
he was
Yeah.
like the face of the franchise for a long
That,
time.
dude, every time yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know we'll talk about that for sure.
Yeah, I want to talk about TTK. So we've covered the Embark stuff quite a bit here. So, and we'll definitely continue to
Yeah.
pick up on that when there's new news on those games we talked about. If you guys missed last week's episode with when Captain Leroy sat in, we talked about the changes to arc raiders quite a bit. We covered that a lot, but I have hope there. I'm borderline. I know it's Ubisoft. I'm borderline excited for Heartland being more of a survival type game for Division. Marathon, dude, from Bungie, that looked badass. That trailer.
I actually haven't seen that. I know I just heard about it today. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the quick shots, we'll talk about Bungie bringing back Marathon. I'm pretty excited about that. I was out of town over the weekend when that stuff kind of broke, so I didn't get into the weeds. They had some kind of Easter egg stuff where you unlocked another page of the website to get more info on the game. And I didn't get to that stuff, so I'm going to bullshit my way through it on this podcast and just make stuff up and talk out of my ass like I'm really good at. But I really
we were professionals on this podcast. I'm sorry,
but we'll try to be good journalists around here. We'll try. But no, I want to talk about a little bit the art direction. Just that in and of itself is out there and bold and neat and something different. So we'll talk about that for sure. And yeah, I think we got to before we get into that stuff, I guess. Guys, continue to chat. That's why it's on the screen. So people watch the VOD, they see what you guys are saying. So we appreciate everybody chatting. There's some awesome thoughts and comments in there. Blue and I try to talk with you kind of while we're going too. And then audio podcast version, link in the description, wherever you're listening to it. It's on all the audio platforms. That's been popping off. Appreciate you guys so much for downloading it. There's even been people leave a couple reviews on iTunes that's incredible. And before we get into that, happy Memorial Day to everyone stateside. And just a huge shout out. I encourage everybody to reflect just a little bit on, people making insanely huge more sacrifices, giving their lives for our country, for our freedom. So have a great day off of work, hopefully, and have some good food and hang out with friends. But also, I would encourage you guys just to take a few moments and reflect on how we got
day
here.
of remembrance for sure.
Yeah. Remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Shout out to them. I'll give them a cheers. Cheers to you guys.
Cheers. Cheers. I don't have a beer right now, but
I mean, I just, look, I happen to have a drink in my hand. All right.
How did that get there?
Oh, wow. I don't know where that came from. So, yeah, just thank you guys so much. I love you all for supporting the show, and the growth is humbling to say the least. So with all that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the biggest thing within the Battlefield community is Is there going to be a year 2, dude? Like that.
I need to say what I said on the Discord DM. That needs to get taken out to the pasture and tell Battlefield to look at the sunset.
Yeah,
that's what needs to happen. And we need the next one to come out already. I think if it ends, if the support ends here, I don't think too many people will be upset.
Yeah, the reason I'll be upset is because this will be the second time that a game was canceled, quote unquote, early. With Battlefield 5 ending early, and they're going to do it again, allegedly. I really don't know. Like, there's a small chance that there is a whole nother like 3 or 4 seasons with this game. Because
this was a very thin season of content.
Yeah.
This is, I think the smallest amount of content for all the other seasons.
A battle pass, like 3 weapons and a map.
What kind of makes up for it is I feel like it's like their version of premium edition. At the end, if you look at like the bottom right of the season 5 pass, it's like you could basically buy all the skins and stuff that people like who didn't start out in the beginning. The expedition, I think is what it's called, could buy now. But again, that's really just cosmetics. It's not the rest of the game. I think
really the only thing that you get gameplay wise is you don't have to unlock the operators. Like, you get them for free.
It's the operators. You can unlock those. Yeah, like, that's the main one.
Like everything in that Elite Edition you could get. And I get the same vibe that the Elite Edition kind of signals the end. Because it's like they did that with Battlefield Revolution in Battlefield 1, and they did like a definitive editions or something like that for like Battlefield 5 at the end too.
Yeah.
They do these editions where you can kind of get all the content, what little there actually is. And you can. It just feels like the end to me.
It sucks because that map, that trailer looks really good, actually.
Dude, the trailer team has, for this entire installment of the game, has absolutely hard carried this game. The trailers, seriously, like every trailer has been like really, really good. So the one thing that I want to talk about, I saw a Reddit post that kind of summarizes why I think it's going to be the end. I feel like it probably is. There's still a chance that we're all going to look silly and they're going to announce a whole bunch more content. With that being said, like in the name of the czar, Danny on PC tweeted this today, had 6 maps in and of itself in one DLC for Battlefield 1. So if you take those and stretch those out, kind of like they're doing, the way they're trickle feeding content, it wouldn't be that big of a stretch to keep going with seasons. If you're only doing one map in a battle pass, like, that is not very much, and a lot of people that are big fans of the game would be all about it. But
unless Battlefield 2042 transforms into that live action or live service expanded universe game that they've been trying to kind of talk about for a minute.
Yep. So this is what this is kind of the reasoning why people think it's not going to happen. There's no signs of post season 5 content and data mines from the Origin API. There's nothing in there. The year 2 upgrade appeared to be the Elite Edition that they have now. New Dawn, which I originally thought the name of the new season, New Dawn, makes you kind of think year 2 if you take it at surface level. That's what me and a lot of people thought. But this Reddit user, I'll credit them in a sec. Let me do that before I forget. User EEVersity. You guys can see it on screen, hopefully. Shout out to them for putting this graphic together. But anyway, A New Dawn is a story reference to the end of the NOPAT conflict in 2048. The player card 2048 also reads like a hopeful ending, suggesting this. It's not a reference to the troubles of the game's lifetime and a new dawn for future content. So that's what I thought. I thought New Dawn was like, oh, future content, like in a new style of how the seasons are going to be moving forward.
But it's like more based on the in-game lore.
Yeah, New Dawn sounds like, peace, like the conflict's over and a new dawn, a new era of peace. Season 5 seems to be way lighter on content than previous seasons. I mean, it's the same, in my opinion, minus the specialist, but no new vehicle and no new specialist. EA and DICE's silence on any post-season 5 content speaks volumes. I don't know if I buy that one.
No, the data mine
they could still surprise people.
Helps more with that fact of like, usually we already know what season, like we knew what season 4 was going to have before season 3 even officially launched.
Right.
Because of all the data miners. So And it sucks that we really didn't get too much into the lore of Battlefield 2042 again because of just the lack of content and the lack of support really for it. I really felt like they hyped it up, especially when you brought back Battlefield 4 characters, and now we don't really get to see what happens now because it never really was
Yeah.
fleshed out.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk for hours about the missed opportunities with this game. One of the things I wanted to see, because I thought the lore was actually kind of cool. I would have loved to see a return of grand operations with some large scale story driven multiplayer battles with
I don't know if
different
this.
kinds of
I've heard
objectives
this
and
as
shit.
well too through different videos of like the map that New Dawn brings in kind of has some, I guess it's ties to like Battlefield 4 as well
Yeah.
too, of like
Mhm.
of just like the futuristic
It kind of
warfare
has
that I
a
know, especially when Battlefield 4 had all those futuristic winter maps. It's very reminiscent of what's happening now.
Yep. Yeah, because they had it. A lot of people are saying the layout and stuff kind of looks like Zavod, but it also has some like lore tiebacks to the Giants of Karelia. Is kind of what it looks like. So that's what a lot
Yeah.
of folks are
So
saying.
if you know what, because I always envisioned 2042 to be the precursor to 2142. And I don't know if you ever got to play that
Oh yeah, I
growing up.
didn't, but
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So that one was one of my favorite battlefields because it was that I'm just a big sci-fi fan. And it really brought in a different level of gameplay, especially with the Titan mode. And then you saw Titans in Battlefield 4. I thought, and there was concept art flying around of maps that would introduce like a Titan on a prototype launch almost with like cables hanging out and stuff like that. So, I mean, yeah, again, we could definitely get into that for as long as we want, but
For sure.
it's what it is.
Yeah, there's so much left on the table, which is kind of Dice's MO with a lot of stuff. Firestorm, Hazard Zone, incursions, the esports 5v5 mode, like everything that they just Portal that they didn't do anything with, just piles of potential that sit dormant now. Yeah, and then this is the one that I picked up on right away because I usually listen to the investor calls and make videos about them. In the recent investor call, 2042 was not listed as an active live service for fiscal year 24. Like other FPS titles like Apex Legends and stuff were on there, but Battlefield 2042 was not considered an active live service for the fiscal year. Although, counterpoint, so I can play devil's advocate on a lot of this stuff too. They haven't mentioned Battlefield since the investor call after launch. They talked about how it did not make what they thought, and they went on to ease investors' minds by saying how little Battlefield actually was part of their portfolio, so it didn't matter that it flopped, and they don't give a shit about it, which is incredibly sad. So I really kind of think that 2042 is going to be done after season 5. There's still a lot of people. There was a teaser that said like T1106 for a frame that a lot of people are thinking is a teaser for season 6. For me, either way, new season or not, if they have this little of content, I don't really give a shit. Like, it's going to take, at this rate, to get to 29 maps in Battlefield 1, don't fact check me on this because I'm just spitballing it here. But like, if you imagine that Crash is just talking out of his ass, wild, whoa, breaking news. If they continue to put out content so slow, it would take them several years to get to the amount of content we're accustomed to with some of the good Battlefield games. So I'm not that excited either way. The one thing I will say is that if they did continue to do like another year of content, even though small, one map, battle pass, whatever, then that would please and be really good for the people that are still playing this game that enjoy 2042. If you cut it off, it's going to make people like me that don't really enjoy 2042 mad, and it's also going to make the people mad that play 2042. You're going to kind of lose everybody again.
Yeah.
And I really feel bad for the community, and that's where my heart has been the whole time with 2042. And I tried to make it clear my thoughts when I did my Dear Battlefield video. I did like an open letter to Battlefield, to the franchise, to DICE, to EA, about how I felt like the community has just been treated like shit, and as a source of revenue rather than a community that can be built up and support and make the game flourish and the whole ecosystem flourish. just like missed promises, canceled games. Like I said, lack of potential. Like nothing new on Portal. Tiny amount of maps. Like a ridiculously small amount of maps. Like I said, one DLC in Battlefield 5 or Battlefield 1 had 6 maps. And we're just getting excited for our 5th map in almost 2 years.
It's so funny that tweet that you put out, like comparing
Dude, people
the
got
content
mad.
that came out. People were getting so obsessed, like you can't count DLC content. Yeah, it's like
I was like, dude,
even
I'm
with
counting
DLC.
I finally said, and I was talking to Leroy. I was arguing with some really silly people for a little bit, but finally at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, put the Portal maps in there, and it's still not good.
Yeah,
this was that tweet got 81.5k views. But name a bigger downgrade.
People were getting upset, dude.
Yeah, essentially what I was doing though, I was comparing original maps to original maps, no remakes. So
correct.
So you have 29 maps in Battlefield 1, all brand new content. That's why I didn't count Portal, because Portal were remastered.
And don't get me started. People say, "Oh, but they reworked the maps. That's technically like brand new content. Like there's certain part of it." No, it's not.
Well, then my comeback was, yeah, but you can't even play Breakthrough. Like it's just the only time you see it is in like Exodus Conquest, is for a limited time play mode.
Correct,
so it's like not even
correct.
You can't even play all the modes on them. So yeah, here's all the 29 maps, and then you have 11 maps in Battlefield 2042, soon to be 12, and it's just like, and then so you're gonna take that, and then you're going to end it early also. Like I just feel bad for the community, and then again, as you know, I'm trying to kind of broaden my horizons on video games, but like as kind of in the Battlefield wheelhouse as a creator, I feel bad for the creators.
Yeah.
That stuck by this franchise for a really long time. Like, what are they
now would
supposed to do
have
for the
to
next?
wait for how long?
Like
the
a
next
year and a
one.
half, 2 years again, like at least a year with nothing to make videos about. I'm gonna still keep making videos about something because I'm too dumb to stop. But like
but for people who are just mainly Battlefield, yeah,
people who are like all about Battlefield, I feel bad for them, and I know a lot of the community, really doesn't care. But at the end of the day, like I feel bad for the community. We had that drought of content. So like Battlefield 1 was like rocking, like right up until like 4 was going up until 1 was going up until 5. 5 had a rough time, the first live service bullshit, and then it ended in that whole year drought of no new Battlefield content was so shitty for the community, and it just it just withered it away, and that is likely going to happen again. It's really crappy, man. It sucks.
Yeah, it's and I never, like when I said it's like, oh yeah, it's like out to the pasture, but it's like it's sad that I feel this way. Because I was the biggest Battlefield fan ever. Like I would shit on Call of Duty players because you played Call of Duty. It's sad to see it. It's probably not going to be a thing next year.
Yeah, it could be 2 years of no content. So like, what are those content creators going to do that's their money? And then on the flip side, to turn that around, what are Battlefield fans going to do? Is a game with 11 maps going to keep you going for 2 fucking years? No. Oh, it's going to be 12.
No,
12,
maybe some community game modes, and even then still, yeah.
It's sad, man. It's sad. And I originally thought I had hope for the next Battlefield, and because they started to make some decent decisions by bringing the class system back, and they were fixing a lot of stuff, and they got new leadership and all that. But then they pulled this stuff with the squad system where you can't even lock your squad. You can't even kick randos from your squad. You can't even.
Yeah,
like,
man. And I've noticed when other creators were talking about the squad system, they were talking about like it's like the best thing that's come out. I'm like, there's so many mechanics still missing.
Yeah. So I think on my channel, I'm gonna try to find like the games that Battlefield refugees are gonna play, because I am one. It makes sense, right? So like on my channel, I'm gonna be talking about the stuff from Embark, the stuff from TTK, Battlebit and like some of the games that like us Battlefield refugees will have to find something to play. And yeah, not having a server browser, that's massive. That like Raphael says, that also handicaps the squad management system, because you still, even with the squad management system, you still can't get more than 3 of your friends in the same match. Whereas I've said this time and time again, like back even with Battlefield 5 in this squad system, like people would pop in stream and say, "Hey, can I play with you?" It's like, "Yeah, sure. Here's the server ID. Hop in." And like, so I mean, you could have 10 or 15 people, friends, in Discord playing together, having a great time, and like platoons in the older games, and so many features that made Battlefield such an awesome social game.
I still remember my old platoon patch that I made myself.
Yeah, gone. So, yeah, with everything coming with Battlefield Season 5, there is a dev update tomorrow, but it sounds like they're going to dive into the Season 5 content. I'm not sure if they're going to drop anything about if there's going to be a Season 6
I don't think so. I don't think they'll even like answer questions like that. It'll just be just talking about what's out now.
That's what I think too.
If anything, maybe a tease at the end, but
I think so too.
We'll see.
So yeah, Battlefield 5. I guess our general consensus is that this is probably the last season. That's kind of what we're thinking. Is that what you're thinking, Blue?
Yeah, and that's, I think that's what a lot of people are thinking.
I think so. Are you? So alongside with that, right along, professional segue incoming. Get excited, guys. Get excited. Ethan, little teaser. We are going to talk about 6 days to Fallujah in the quick shots. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about the. Whoa, we're down. In the quick shot segment.
I don't scream yet. I got to hold off my screams.
And we're also going to talk.
Quick shots.
We're also going to talk about BattleBit as well in the quick shots. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for some of those games. Alongside with things going on about where Battlefield refugees are going to play, we got some really big news. I made a video about it twice, actually. I made a video about it when it was rumored that he was starting a new studio, and we talked about it with Lars Gustafson starting TTK Studios, which is another one of those games or studios that I could see a lot of Battlefield refugees latching onto. For fuck's sake, it's Mr.
Battlefield.
It's Mr. Battlefield.
It's Daddy Battlefield. Is that wrong? Anyways.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, he'd probably be fine with that. I think it rolls right off the tongue. Let me find this article that I made my video about, because I think there's some good stuff in here with this interview that he did with gamesindustry.biz. I think we can glean some talking points out of this article.
If you guys don't know what Lars am I saying it right? Gustafson?
I say Gustafson.
I think it's Gustafson. But I mean, he's basically the leader of games that you've loved, like Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, I believe Battlefield 4.
Yeah, he was a creative director.
He didn't put his hand in Battlefield 5, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah,
he was there active.
I'm
not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say it because I don't have sources, but I feel like
it might have even been Battlefield 2 Modern Combat, possibly. I feel like they IC-42. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so he's been there for
yeah, from the beginning. Yeah. It was pretty huge when he left, I feel like. And this article, let's talk about some of the things I've highlighted, guys, because it gets into, you can kind of get a feel for the culture around DICE and how unhealthy it is, just like by reading between the lines here.
Ooh, and I got some thoughts about that for sure. Yeah, keep going now.
All right. So up until November last year, he ran the Battlefield series as creative director for DICE. So currently they have 7 people, essentially just the founders, but they want to scale up to between 80 and 120 employees. And they are confirmed 100% working on a new shooter built using the Unreal Engine. So alongside Gustafson, sorry, the team includes Daniel Berlin, senior design director. Berlin has worked at Ubisoft, Vivendi, and most recently was lead world designer and design director on Battlefield. Vidar Nygren is a chief technical officer and technical director and had been at DICE since 1996. He was the technical director on Battlefield and directed the creation of EA's Frostbite engine. So the man in charge of creating the Frostbite engine is switching to Unreal, just so you know. Peter Hoyles is the TTK's art director. He rose as a studio art director at DICE's LA studio, so Ripple Effect now. He was the art director. He's the art director here. But I think that's really, really big. And we'll get in. We're going to dive into the weeds just a little bit on the decision to go with Unreal in a little bit. The other side of this door, there are people that aren't old Dicers. They want to get different things. They want to bring in new blood as well. He said it's about mixing. I don't necessarily like to call myself old. I don't feel old. These are the words of Berlin. But mixing the old with the new. So one of the reasons and one of the paradigms that they're looking at in regards to why the switch to Unreal, this goes along exactly with, if you watched our episode quite a while back with Jim Heil of EA, who was a developer on Battlefield 2042, in regards to how hard Frostbite is to work with. One of the issues is new developers coming out of college, coming out of technical school, aren't trained on Frostbite. So you have to teach them how to work in that engine. Whereas people now, almost everyone is trained on Unreal. So when these developers are coming out, they can just work with these senior developers with experience, worked on some of the Battlefield franchise that we love, built the Frostbite engine for fuck's sake. And now they can hit the ground running and just start working within the engine. So that's huge. And that's why I highlighted that, because you talk about mixing old knowledge with new talent. And that's what they're going for here.
So a lot of that, this is actually history repeating itself. So a lot of that stuff happened back when Medal of Honor in the early 2000s, originally created by EA, stuff like that. A lot of those devs were unhappy with the way EA was treating them, the way they thought the game was going. So they left and ended up creating games such as Call of Duty. Infinity Ward branch was basically developers from EA.
Right.
So now you have, it feels like, and then you had the old crew that, made those games, and then new people coming into the scene that ended up making Infinity Ward, ended up making Respawn Entertainment, Titanfall. Eventually it all like branches off from that like group of developers breaking off. So this is literally, it feels like history repeating itself of developers being unhappy with the way the company was treating them and the way that they thought the company was, their path, their travel, stuff like that. So now all of a sudden you got these people making their own studios and bringing in new people, and it's crazy to see that. That's what happens when companies, I feel like, get too big.
Yeah, and that happened with, and then just take it one step further, take it another degree. That's when Vince Zampella left Infinity Ward and started Respawn. So because
exactly,
same thing. So yeah, this has happened so before, for sure.
It's cool because I feel like we need that to progress the game industry currently, because if not, we're going to be stuck with the Call of Duties and the Battlefields of live service games forever. We need new studios to be coming out with that, but
right, 100%.
I think everyone feels like that.
100%. Lars goes on to say, I'll just say Lars so I don't mess up his last name anymore. We need young and untainted minds to dare to come in with radically different ideas. Maybe our experience can help with the facilitation of this hive mind that sets up diversity of different perspectives that can bring nuances and, at first glance, crazy ideas to the table. Let me continue on, and I'm going to show you what kind of picture this paints. Berlin goes on to say, it's about humbleness for anyone who can take up a leadership position. You shouldn't think that you know everything. So I made videos about Glassdoor reviews for people that worked at DICE, talking about cronyism, talking about upper management that comes up with ideas, shoehorns them through no matter the feedback. If you're a lower developer, they don't listen to you at all. So there's a bunch of cronyism and who they listen to and who shapes the way the game goes. So you can, they're addressing this stuff like head on. They're like talking about that stuff. And then so if you go on,
amazing.
Gustafson goes on to say, to be fair, why should it matter where a good idea comes from? That's just a silly thought. If we find a gold nugget, it doesn't matter if it's my mother who came up with it. So they talk like they're creating a culture where they're listening to newer developers that maybe, have a different perspective on gaming than they've had for a really long time. And that was one of the things that was a common theme within the Glassdoor reviews from people that formerly worked at DICE, is that their ideas weren't heard. You have to do this. There was a core group of people that were in a little bit of a clique that made all the decisions. If you had a different decision or a different way to go with things, it didn't matter. So they're changing the culture, and you can tell that I feel like a lot of these people were just a little bit put off with the direction that DICE was going, because they're talking about some of the stuff that was really in those Glassdoor reviews. Like, they're addressing it head on, to where they want to try to listen to more people, listen to new folks, and get ideas. And if it's a good idea, it's a good idea. It doesn't matter who comes with it. So you can see them addressing in kind of a roundabout way some of those culture issues that are allegedly going on at DICE. And then to talk about Lars, it says, you're not going to find Lars in some corner office with a nice view. He sits where everyone else sits. The same goes for all of us. It's not even a conversation. So it sounds like they're like, again, addressing the cronyism that's allegedly going on with DICE, where everyone's going to be kind of treated the same. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's not that important. Berlin says, we don't want people to come in here and be like, there's no proper onboarding, no company handbook, no company culture. We want to make sure that that's all in place, and that's been the bulk of the work. So I can't remember how long ago it was when I made the first video about the rumors of this happening, but there's been several months in between, and it sounds like they've just been setting up the framework and they haven't brought any new people on. It sounds like now with the studio, they're to the point where they're going to start bringing new people on. They kind of have the foundation of what they want to be, working on a core game concept, and they just kind of are building that company culture right now.
Correct. Which is a great way to go about it, actually, especially for there's so many other companies that don't focus on the culture and, just all about profit.
Right. Wonder who that would be. I think this is also of note. They said that the 3 core values are lead by example, push boundaries, and deliver on promises. So again, lead by example, push boundaries, deliver on promises. I feel like another little shot at DICE maybe. It makes sense for the founders. Considering their history, they say in this article, it makes sense for the founders of TTK games to build a multiplayer shooter. So it sounds like they're going to do that. Then Berlin goes to say, there's many different things you need to do and stand out for sure. He's referencing the competitive FPS scene. You need to deliver on something you will only get in our game. You need to have a secret sauce, I guess. We're not going to talk about that here. It's a little bit too early, but we're working on that ingredient. So they're trying to come up with what's going to be the hook for their new
what
FPS
would make
game.
you want to play a TTK game compared to EA or Activision, whatever it is.
Yep. He says it's very difficult to build a super strong core game and then attach a meta to that. He says, so we've started the other way around. So they're coming up with a meta and then building the game around the paradigm.
I like that, where it says Gustafson likens the situation to the creation of Battlefield 2042, which again, it's just the way history is repeating itself, man.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to look back in order to move forward. That's just like, how many things from the old games that just never came back into the new ones. So,
yep. The time is the thing that's one of the main attractors for me, because the first idea you have for design is going to fail. Basically, he's talking about he's excited to have time to finish out the project. He says the company has the money for it to take its time and make sure the foundation is there, both with the studio and its first project. So it sounds like they're not going to be rushed by a publisher to get the game out early.
Wow.
Imagine.
See, and they're making that culture from the get-go.
Yeah, sounded really good. One in the PC Gamer article, I have it pulled up too. They said they pulled together quote unquote significant funding. So it sounds like they have enough money to take their time and get it out.
How or from where?
No,
I hope it's not too many investors that would put their 2 cents into it.
Probably the founder of Star Citizen is funding this studio. Just kidding.
He's got the extra money.
He should have plenty of money. So yeah, then in this article they go on to talk about Nygren goes on to talk about again chief technical officer and one that helped design the actual Frostbite engine, goes on to talk about how nice it is to work with Unreal. It's really exciting to see what we can do with those tools and how fast we can find the fun while prototyping. He said, Hoyle adds that I've been working with Unreal for a couple of years now, and that's extremely easy way to prototype with. We should be able to make something that looks very good. Again, talking with Jim Heil, he said Frostbite was one of the biggest detractors of the quality of 2042. Then this is really interesting too. I just wanted to take this snippet out from Lars as well. He says there is no hiding that leaving was an emotional roller coaster. He's referencing leaving DICE. He said I could probably have kept on working there until they wheeled me out. So they didn't let him go. He said they would have kept him around forever. He left. So that should tell you something, that Mr. Battlefield, Lars Gustafson, left on his own accord from DICE.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was interesting. Then they talk about their quote, the last quote here, a snippet from that says, multiplayer games, getting people together, having them play as a squad, almost like playing in a band. So it sounds like playing in a squad, people playing together.
And it's just loading up rounds and taking shots at Battlefield. It feels like this entire article.
There are, I feel like, some low-key roundabout shots at DICE and the culture there.
Just a couple low gut punches, but
within that article. So with this last sentence, I highlighted it because it shows that they're working on something that will have a squad, and they're working on playing together in team play. So overall, that's pretty exciting. But yeah, they're
curious if it's going to be, an actual modern, modern times first person shooter, if it's going to be something a little bit more wacky, more futuristic. Yeah, they can go different couple directions with this, and I feel like people would still be happy with where they go.
Yeah, it's exciting. I think for a large subset of the Battlefield community that's just kind of burnt out on 2042, burnt out on the live service model, burnt out on the direction of the franchise, I think there's a little bit of glimmer of hope for that subsection of the community overall, to be honest.
I would prefer something more modern, but that's, I prefer a direct replacement for Battlefield now, but I'm just being a little bit too cynical. Yeah. I feel like sometimes I know people still want Battlefield to survive, and I'm saying no, it needs to go. It broke its leg.
All right, yeah, man.
Just put it down.
We hope they absolutely make a direct competitor to Battlefield, but it sounds like they want to do something different. But at the end of the day, I would like them just make a Battlefield 4 with Battlefield 1 immersion and graphics and audio, and Battlefield 5's gameplay mechanics minus the random recoil. And that's been the key. Right. That's been the successful recipe that the majority of the Battlefield community has wanted for a really long time. But basically
they're doing a lot of talking, but I just need to see what they're coming up with, especially when because they're messing with Unreal Engine heavily compared to Frostbite. I just again, this is all good and fun, but as we say on this show, it's got potential, and we'll keep an eye on it. And it's that's all we can do right now. And again, I'm not gonna be here and just start sending money their way, that I'm not going to do that if they ever did. I'm pretty sure they won't, but still, I'm just going to, keep an eye on it.
Yeah, we got to keep an eye on it. I guess there's not that many positive lights for the Battlefield hemisphere of the community right now. But the main thing, so trying to keep a level head and not get excited, because we literally know nothing of that game other than they're working on squad play and it's going to be a shooter. That's all we know. What I really got from that interview, was confirmation that DICE's studio culture is dog shit, because you heard Mr. Battlefield left on his own. They hinted at cronyism, nepotism, all that stuff going on within DICE that we have allegedly heard from the Glassdoor reviews, and it just spoke really to an unhealthy culture at DICE.
There's a lot of confirmation,
and also confirmed the difficulty in working with Frostbite when you have the actual chief technical officer for the Frostbite engine switching to Unreal. And then that allows them to take ideas from new developers that are coming out of school trained already in Unreal.
Learning with Unreal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I got from that. Trying not to get people excited about a game that we literally know next to nothing about. So yeah, there's that caveat. But still.
Just keep an eye on our podcast. We'll let you guys know.
It's gonna have anime skins. and it's gonna be sweet. Just kidding.
I don't get myself anime skins. I'm a riot.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, that's everything going on within like the whole Battlefield hemisphere of games. So former DICE devs, it was big news. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about small studios in trouble. I am not too familiar. I have played Crows, so if you guys didn't know, I'm sure you probably heard by now. The Crows game shutting down, ending service, as well as Antimatter Games. Blue, can you fill me in on Antimatter Games?
Yeah, so Antimatter Games, the creators for Rising Storm, Rising Storm 2 Vietnam. They were working on another project based in the 80s called 82 or 83, sorry, or 82, 83, in the 80s. Early 80s. And then IGI Origins, which was another game that they were working on. And that one hurt more than Crows. I could care less with what happened with Crows, and I think I'll talk about that first, only because, again, this was I was originally partnered with the game, so I know a few of my other friends. I know Big Fry, I think, was Abel Green. Were you? I don't know if you were partnered with the game. I know you played it sometimes.
I played it and streamed it a little bit, but yeah, I played it for about 5 minutes and was like, this isn't good.
Yeah, yeah. So I played it pretty much since day one, and I got hooked up with the community manager, and there was only one community manager that spoke English. Oh no, Big Fry wasn't. Okay, so I think Abel was. I think Big Fry dodged a bullet. You didn't get the cool sweet merch though, which I still have somewhere. I use their the mouse pad that they sent me, by the way, as my gun cleaning mat now. Anyways.
It works.
It works. It's literally what a gun cleaning mat is. It's just a giant mouse pad. But anyways, so there was so much feedback giving to the developers, and it was they never listened to us ever. And I think one of them was the language barrier, because all of the developers were Korean. Then none of them spoke almost a lick of no English, to the point where every time I streamed the Crows, for some reason, I don't know why, but I would go up 300, 400, 500 viewers. Sometimes I even hit 1,000 viewers in one Crow stream, because 99% of those viewers were investors, apparently. So we had guys speaking in Korean in the chat, and I had to go and translate. And then I had to put a timer command saying, please only speak English.
Dude,
what was going on? It was the strangest game ever. And I will say too, like, again, I never got like monetarily compensated, but again, I was even smaller back then. But it was so strange. And then of course Andy, which was the community manager, Andy Yang, I think his name was, he would try to kind of mend the relationship between us and the developers, and we're just saying, you need to tell them this, that. This needs to go. This needs to get implemented. This needs to get fixed. This and that. None of it was ever taken into consideration with that game. And you know what? I'm glad it died. I have to say that, because again, even the community manager left before the game was even shut down. Like as soon as I got rid of my partnership, he left. He's like 2 weeks later, he messaged me. He's like, yeah, I left too. Because they just weren't even listening to him. And he was part of the team.
It played real rough. It played horrible. I just want to think.
Okay. There were some fun moments in their battle royale game mode, and it was kind of interesting because it was like, it wasn't like a circle. It was like the gas from expanding parts of the different maps. So again, some things was also, my wife wears the Crows hoodie now, which is funny. She wears it when she's working at home now. It's funny, but it's like literally the only thing we do now. But it's So again, the player count dropped exponentially, like 2 digits sometimes one. It would be like 9 players. I'm surprised 9. It must have been the devs. Like, I don't think anyone was legit playing that game hoping it would be a thing. Like, it did everything so mediocre to the point I was like, okay, it's got customization, but this game has better. Oh, it's got, fast TTK, but this game does it better. Like, it had some cool mechanics, but again, there it's just outshined, outdone, and yeah. So 11 months. But the one I'm more upset and kind of sad about is because Antimatter Game is the people with Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, which was their last game, and that game came out a long time ago. That thing was made on Unreal Engine 3. Like,
yeah,
it's a pretty old game. We haven't had a good Vietnam era game in a while. I know Burning Lands is still out, but it's not even out. I don't even really know about that game, if it's even ever coming out. But yeah, so their publisher, I think it's an EGP. Might be wrong about that, but they basically went and shut them down because they wanted to focus more on the profitability of their company. And you know what? Antimatter Games wasn't making profit. So, I mean, again, it's been years since they came out with a game. And even though they were working on it, now the new, 82 is uncertain. Their feature is uncertain. I don't think IGI Origins will be coming out. So, it's that one kind of, because then it said it's not even just that they're shutting down, but it sends a message to a lot of smaller studios, like, you might not make it. And yes, that was always a risk factor in the beginning, but even more so now.
Yeah, I think it shows
like that. Yeah,
that's what I wanted to talk about. That's definitely the details with it. And the Antimatter one is it's definitely more sad than the Crows one. I was like, I played Crows for a little bit, and just a funny musing from looking around. I was gonna pull up a video of gameplay from Crows, and like the top video was from Jack Frags that says Battlefield has a new serious competitor, and it was about Crows.
Oh Lord, yeah. So that's clickbait. It is what it is.
It's kind of funny. But. You could take that for what it's worth. I'm not going to comment any further. But
they said War 3 is a Battlefield killer, so
Yeah, there's been Battlefield didn't need any help killing itself. So what I want to talk about is, like, from an industry bird's eye view perspective. I think this illustrates very clearly the shift, like the kind of paradigm shift overall within the FPS gaming space, and it's getting harder and harder to make an indie shooter work out. And I think,
especially when it comes to multiplayer,
I think
multiplayer I feel like is the hardest one.
Yeah, because I think, like everything, I think everything's going up, and especially I think it takes a lot of money to keep server costs going. I think it takes a lot of money to keep servers running. I think netcode and like the multiplayer programming and everything is difficult and really hard to do. Just an indie, I think Ubisoft, the studio as massive as Ubisoft, is going to have a hard time keeping X Defiant going. So it just shows you how hard it is to make an indie shooter work. And though we see figures all the time of the gaming industry is getting more money, there's more money coming into it, I feel like a big part of FPS gaming is dying before our eyes. And that is the indie FPS shooter.
I'm a bit worried.
I think there's so much. I think the big studios have gotten so efficient at getting people's money. I think Call of Duty, I think Fortnite, I think Apex, I think they have almost become microtransaction algorithms with an FPS game attached to the side, that they've gotten so efficient as taking people's money within this space that nobody has money to spend and support.
I've been saying that for a while, and now people are just starting to realize that. I know you've probably been thinking that for a while too. It's just I feel like the core of the FPS gaming community is now starting to realize, oh, wait a minute, they were coming after my money instead of giving me a good gaming experience.
Yeah, I think and and this is a consequence that I've just realized over the last few days of those AAA games getting so efficient at taking people's money is that there's not enough money left over in people's pockets. Like, well, I just spent $30 on a Call of Duty skin. Like, I'm not gonna pay, 50. And a lot of people
Mhm.
will look right away. Like, it's just such an uphill battle to make an indie multiplayer game because people will shit on it. Like, they'll look at the player counts. You can look on Steam and see, well, there's only 8,000 people playing it. I'm not gonna spend my money on that. I'm
And
gonna
not even gonna. Yeah, exactly.
so it's, man, it's just rough. It's just something
It's
so that I'm
yeah.
sad to see, which makes me even more impressed with games like Insurgency Sandstorm. Some of the indie shooters that are still continuing to make it, like Caliber and stuff. Hopefully that thing keeps trucking. Um,
I'm
it's
kind of
just
proud of Caliber is that right now, to be honest.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
studios that have games that are indie FPS games that are still multiplayer. Well, I guess Caliber's third person, but indie multiplayer shooter games should be pretty proud of
Yeah.
themselves if they're still going
I was
because
just I just
it's
played a
tough. It's
couple
tough climbing.
runs of Sandstorm a couple days ago, and I was having some fun. But again, it's just like I've played the same maps, I've used the same weapons. I'm ready for another game.
I'm ready to see what that studio does next. I'm
Same.
ready to see their
Yeah.
next game. I think a lot of people are.
Well, and then even like OWI with their release of Starship Troopers that just came out, like that did very well. And that's, not it's multiplayer, but it's not PvP, but it is still a multiplayer first person shooter that I thought was going to get carried by the nostalgic factor of the franchise, but apparently it did very well. I mean, it was hitting well over 160,000 players concurrent. Like, I don't know where it's at now, but I mean, it's cool to see them dip their toes in more futuristic gaming.
That's pretty
It's
awesome.
but yeah, they're still in my eyes, they're still an indie company. They're not. I don't see the people who made Squad as AAA in my eyes. But then again, I don't know where triple. I'm not so sure exactly where AAA starts and indie game ends.
True. Yeah. I'm not
And
100%
it's
clear on
different
that
for other
either.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's just tough. And like Big Fry stated in chat, and like what they're doing with starting out, they're making a shooter, but starting out making it single player, very smart. And like what
It's
Auntie's doing,
all on the player to
what
run it. Yeah.
yeah, what Auntie is doing with Road to Vostok, incredibly smart. Um, like yeah, I think that's the way to go right now. So yeah, hopefully we see.
And the tools come out, the tools that are coming out, like Unreal Engine's coming out with great tools to help with solo developers and small teams to create the games that they want to do. And that's why it's like, yeah, I can, almost knocked over my light. Um, that's why I can kind of like, I'm not a fan of Fortnite, but I appreciate what they're doing with their game editor.
Right, right, yeah.
You know,
And I think what Rockhound Black is saying again. Shout out to him if you guys are interested in Embark games and you're not following Rockhound Black on YouTube. You're
oh, we did see his video a lot. Yeah, I remember
you're
that. Yeah,
you're doing it wrong.
that's where we got the gameplay from, right?
Yeah, he let us
Yeah.
use his gameplay as
Shout
well
out
as
to you, man.
everyone.
Look who it is.
It's definitely silly for me to think that if you're here watching this terrible disaster of a show that you don't know who Big Fry is, but definitely follow along with him. What they're doing with transients, as we mentioned earlier, is pretty cool. It's cool to see creators making their own games. We talked about it quite a bit on the show, but that's a trend that is definitely a positive one.
Well, then even
in the shooter space.
Blue Drake with his game, and
Yeah.
apparently that's doing some pretty good stuff right now too. So
I like seeing that.
I want to take a look at that again. Hell,
But with-
even I've had people reach out to me like, "Hey, you want to look at maybe making a game?" So I was like, I'm more interested in looking at the tools myself, but and I've been taking a look at Unreal Engine 5. I've made a couple little play test things, which is actually kind of cool that I did that myself, but mainly through YouTube tutorials. But
Yeah, I want to try. I wish I could make like a round baseball mode game in that somehow. It'd be sweet. But
That would be cool.
But what Rockhound Black is saying is really interesting. He said he spoke to an owner of a small studio where he lives and said that investment money in small studios is drying up with the economic climate. I think the economy is struggling, and it just makes sense. Like if there's less money going around, the first thing to get cut are these
entertainment
studios, entertainment, and the indie studios. I'm just like within the shooter space, like those are going to be the first to suffer. I think
correct, yeah.
And I think the AAA games have positioned themselves so well to succeed because they're just so massive at this point, and they're so efficient. Like I said ad nauseum, like they're so efficient at taking people's money that it's just silly. So I look for an indie shift to be more single player shooters like Vostok, like Transients, for those to dip their toes in. That makes sense to me. I can't imagine the extra development time, and Auntie Road to Vostok, like he would be more apt, and Fry would be better able to answer this question and more qualified. I just feel like right now the juice isn't worth the squeeze for an indie studio when you talk about the extra costs in server maintenance, and you talk about the extra development time in netcode and in programming and developing like the architecture to work with the multiplayer. Because even talk with a company, a publisher as large as Ubisoft, they are struggling with netcode in their first person shooter X Defiant. They had to use an older version of netcode in their last beta test that's still not finished. So a company that big, overall, is to say that you start to realize how fucking hard it is to make a multiplayer shooter, goes into it, and how much money and resources and time it takes, man. Yeah, it's insane. So we're starting to see that. We're starting to see some of the downsides of that, some of the harsh realities that it's going to be tougher for small and indie studios. That's why we always say on this program, we talk about those games. We will forever cover those games, because if you find a good one, it's very important to support them when and where you can, because we want to see that continue, because that's where a lot of our innovation comes from. That's where you can see games that the devs like truly love. And they're making games for the love of the game, and you see that stuff still within the indie scene that you miss out in the AAA space. So I think that covers that. Would you like to maybe
quick shots?
Woo! You want to get into some quick shots, there, bud?
Let's do it. All right, there, bud.
All right. I don't know why I got Canadian for just a second, but it is what it is.
Midwest Canadian, same thing, right?
That's not racist. Don't cancel us. It's not racist to make fun of Canadians. All right. Let's talk.
Anyways,
let's talk about 6 Days in Fallujah. Got some new gameplay from Control Pairs. I'm hoping Big Fry's offended. All right, my work here is done. My work here is done. Yeah, so 6 Days in Fallujah got some new gameplay. Admittedly, I've been out of town and haven't been following along very much, but I did watch some of it, and it looks awesome. Again, this is going to be, it looks to be a co-op shooter, so you're not going to have as much problems. I feel like, and I wish I knew more about this stuff, more about development, but I would think it would be possible for co-op shooters to be more like peer-to-peer hosted. Like you wouldn't have to have dedicated servers to run a co-op shooter.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's pretty accurate. That's why
how I
when
feel.
When you say like, hey, join my server, that's what, I'm the one hosting that server. That's kind of the whole point. I don't know if that's what they did.
Even within like Call of Duty and stuff, if you make up a custom game, it's going to be peer-to-peer. So I feel like co-op games can be peer-to-peer, so you don't have that server cost. But 6 Days Fallujah is a game that's had a bit of a troubled past. We talked about that, where it kind of got canceled for being too realistic and stuff like that. But it looks to be way more on track. And again, the thing that I'm incredibly excited about with this game is just to see how the procedural generation of the maps is. I just see so much potential with that throughout the space, throughout the genre, that it could be really cool. I don't have an ad blocker, obviously. But
yeah,
allegedly,
it was canceled around back in like originally between like 2009, 2012, around that time. But back when the Battle of Fallujah was still kind of fresh in people's minds. So I'm glad this is finally coming out because it's not just the gameplay I'm excited about, it's the story. Um, with the different Marines that were in this battle. They have firsthand accounts of these of conflicts. Bless you, by the way.
Thanks.
So it sucks that I got canceled the first time, but I'm glad we're here now. It looks cool. The procedural animation of generation, as to say, of the building locations is going to be interesting. I'm just still curious on the replay factor of different game modes. I like co-op. I'm a big fan of co-op. I don't need PvP for me to play a game, but I know that's not everyone. And again, I know this is going to be everyone's cup of tea. I feel like this is going to be on the same lines of like Ready or Not or Ground Branch, of like that type of player that's really going to want to keep playing this game over and over again. I don't think your casual Call of Duty player would come in and be super excited. They could be, but that's not the audience that they're catered to.
Right. And along those lines though, I see the gameplay similar as like a co-op really slow Ready or Not. But I've heard from
Correct.
a lot of people who have played Ready or Not, like once you beat the levels, once you beat the missions and get like a flawless run, it's like you're kind of out of stuff to do. And that's why
Exactly.
I'm super excited for the procedural generation of the map. So it's different every single time. And I'm admittedly one of those people that if I play a single player game or a co-op game and I go ahead and play it through and I feel like I'm done. I feel like I've seen everything. I'm the kind of person I don't ever watch movies twice.
You're not gonna go and try to complete every side objective and collect
Right,
everything.
no.
Yeah. Once
And
I'm the same way too.
in
I'm
story
like,
games,
if I feel like I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah, in story games, like I just kind of speed run the main missions and I don't do any side quests and stuff, and I'm done. So with this one, I'm very interested to see if this could be the secret sauce to make a co-op shooter replayable indefinitely.
There's already a game that does procedural generation, but just of props, and that's 0 Hour. So 0 Hour did that in their room to room CQB. They have procedural generation of the props inside. So let's say you go into a room and there's a couch on the right, there's a door shelf in front of you, and then there's a little alleyway in front of you. Now, next time you replay that mission, that gets changed up. Now there's a bed to your front and there's no couch to the right. So I feel like that alone won't carry the game of just procedural generation of the city of Fallujah itself. I feel like it needs to bring something else other than just, what I haven't really talked to anyone that's played this yet. I'm pretty sure I could just, ask them, but like what was the objective for this? Just go in and clear the city and that's it? Or was there, go in, secure the VIP? Maybe there's like the deck of cards situation,
Due Process. Was the
Due
other
Process
game
had that too.
that had like procedural generation of the map. It just had
and that was a really interesting game.
Yeah.
That died off.
Shit. Well, that doesn't help my case.
I'm like, that's the thing. Again, it's cool that it has it, but if that's your secret sauce that you're bringing to the table, and that's the only thing you're bringing to the table, I don't know the longevity of it. And I've been saying that for a while. Like, again, I'm glad that it's coming out. It's a story that needs to be told. I bet there's so many kids nowadays that don't even know where Fallujah is on a map, let alone what happened there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's an important
I'm glad
aspect
that it's coming out because of that. Yeah.
And then how good of a podcast host am I? I talk about how procedural generation is going to be the secret sauce. It's going to save everything. And then I give you an example of a game that has it that died really quick. That absolutely argued and was a
0 Hour, Due Process.
Yeah. So I'm bad at this.
No, because again, it's a cool concept and they showed it off. It's cool that it's not just like Due Process, it was on a smaller scale, 0 Hour, it was just the props in the room, but the building stayed the same. The room layout stayed the same. You knew exactly if you enter a hallway, there'll be a room on your left, room on your right, big courtroom, whatever it is. But this one is every building changes. The layout inside of the building changes. And I think definitely, and the loadouts in the game themselves are very basic because again, this is early 2000s Marine loadouts. It's just you got your M16A4, you got your M249 SAW, you got maybe your Benelli, and I don't know what else, like your sidearm, but
The one thing that I did take from this that was pretty impressive was the gameplay and the UI and the mechanics looked way more polished in this than what I've seen.
Yeah, I was
lately.
worried
So this
about
made me
what the
feel
UI
pretty
was gonna
good.
look like. Yeah,
This
I
made me
remember
feel pretty
what I was
good
gonna-
about where they're at.
Yeah, it's very, because it's, again, it's not intrusive. You could check. I love the whole like ammo check. How much ammo I got on myself, instead of like having the counter. It just pulls up your little vest. Oh, I got a box and a
vest is
half.
cool.
I got a couple mags and a half.
The vest UI is really cool. Seth has another really good point. The AI is going to be key on this. It needs to have
100%.
Really good AI.
That's what
That's a huge
to be
challenge.
honest, Zero Hour did very well, actually. They, you had the AI was able to hide in closets or hide under the bed or hold hostages, and stuff like that. Ready or Not does pretty good on their AI as well too. I think they can do that as well too, hide under beds and in, I don't know if they can do it in closets, but I know they can, like, you can catch them under a bed and stuff like that. So I don't know what the AI is going to do here. From the looks of it, it looks pretty basic. They might pop out at you in a hallway. I love the audio design of this game too. I think that's also a big feature that this game has, is the interior gunshots. And if you talk using in-game comms, if you're talking outside, you use your like radio. Or if you're inside, you talk locally, and now it sounds like your voice is echoing off the walls inside that house. So it's that one's really cool. Again, I'm not so sure if the game needs multiplayer, but because it's catered to a very specific audience. But even that audience, it's already super small. And how long are you going to keep them available or able to play the game longevity wise? Because again, I'll play Ready or Not, but I'll do a couple missions and that's it. And now when I play Ready or Not, it's usually modded content. So I don't think mods are coming. I don't think they've ever talked about mods with this game as well. Especially with this, I feel like that would be very, very well done.
I'm just so interested in the novelty of procedurally generated levels that I don't give a shit and I'm buying it. Like, I have to see how it works. I have to see, and I just hope it catches on.
What's the price?
Don't know. Doesn't matter. I'll sell my body.
What would you pay for this?
I'll sell blood and semen.
Like realistically, what would you pay for this?
A co-op game. It only takes place in Fallujah over and over. I feel like it needs to be. I'm scared to say. I feel like it should be around the $20 mark.
I was gonna say 20, but I could go up to 30.
Am I being silly?
No, I was thinking $20 myself, but again, that might be a little bit too low for the amount of work that's gone into it. So I'm thinking like 30.
It's not a lot of work.
Yeah.
And the story.
It shouldn't be $60. And if it is, I don't think people will buy into it. Yes, certain people will, the hardcore fans of CQB combat, people that know, stuff like that. But 30 is 35, $34.99 will be my max.
2 easy payments of $14.99. 2 easy payments.
Plus shipping and handling.
The payments are so easy. All you do is send them the money. That's how easy it is. That's what I used to always laugh when they say easy payments. Like, yeah, it's easy. I just pay you. Like, I don't know what the fuck. What's the difference between a hard payment?
How easy do you want me to get?
Like, what's the difference between a hard payment and an easy payment? I don't know. But yeah, they used to make me laugh on infomercials.
Oh man. Well, because back then it was like, you could pay through like check as well too. You had to like send them a check.
I guess so. But anyway, 6 days in Fallujah. It's moving along. We'll let you know if there's any more updates or stuff like that. Like I said, I think this is an instance where I was pretty impressed with the gameplay, with the new gameplay. Seeing the HUD in action, hearing the audio, the comms.
Yeah. And Control Players, shout out to him, by the way. Him and his crew, NLG, Man, Grover, all those guys do some really good stuff of communication. So they really got to, I feel like his video really showcased what the game could be if you have a good team.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot. Would you like to talk about the next?
quick shot.
Dude, this episode's already an hour and a half.
Back. Why is he screaming quick shot? Like,
I mean, that's just how it has to be. Part of
for the podcast, babe. For the podcast.
That's the way it is. I wanted to talk about Marathon.
The way it is.
Partially because I'm excited.
Now you get to talk to me about this because I have no clue what the hell.
Man.
Is it who's making it again?
Bungie. You've heard of them.
Bungie. Wow.
Yeah. So
those
Bungie
guys.
never heard of her. No, I'm gonna have a hard time talking about it.
I'm watching the trailer for the first time too.
Okay,
and it looks freaking crazy.
Dude, let's do a really quick Crash reacts to the trailer. Not actually gonna react that much, but I just want to talk about it a second. Because I have
the whole ship in the planet. Oh, sorry for the audio listeners.
Oh yeah, sorry. I forget about you guys. I might forget about you from time to time.
I'll remember you guys. You're always in my thoughts. Crash is just a bad host.
That's right. We've established that several times throughout the program. But anyway, Marathon looks really cool. I definitely want to commend the trailer and design team. Like that trailer just catches people's eyes. Like it has 14 million views or something on it already. The art design and stuff looks insane. Like it looks so cool. I know generally like my first instinct or my first desire is I kind of like the military looking games, like not necessarily Milsim gameplay, but I like the grounded cosmetics and looks. But this is pretty cool. A really cool art style
hurricane. What is going on?
Because it's so different.
There's a whole ship going through a moon, and then is this like I don't even know if this takes place on Earth. Like,
oh, I read that stuff. I need to look it up. I'm terrible host again. I was gonna make a video on it, but I was out of town all week. I think it does take place on a super futuristic Earth. The one thing that I did see about the gameplay is that humans have figured out how to transfer consciousness between bodies. So you have like a robotic body, but it's the same consciousness. And I did play Marathon a little bit originally on Mac. So this game is from like the 90s, from like 1996, this IP.
Oh, really?
And I remember.
Apparently, Anthony says in chat too, it's been in development for 5 years.
Yeah, it's been up for a long time, and it's going to be an extraction shooter.
I didn't even know that. That's crazy. Okay.
It's going to be an extraction shooter. They talked about looting and some different aspects of what's going to go on with that within the website. There was some more information and stuff. I'm terribly ill prepared for this. All I can say is I'm kind of excited for it.
Well, there's not much information out for this game anyways yet, so
not a ton.
It's not your fault.
Not a ton. But
Don't
it is going to have
blame the production team.
Extraction mode. You can see them after the sniper kills the bad guy. She pulls something off his body, which I'm kind of thinking could be his consciousness. I think it is a super futuristic Earth, where they build something inside the moon. But it has to do with like the different bodies are like 3D printed. Like you can see them like 3D printing and creating the bodies, and then they figured out how to transfer your consciousness into like the robotic bodies, and then it's gonna be like.
Looks like we're going down that path, anyways, brother.
Yeah, I mean,
the
it's
robots
probably
coming for your jobs.
Yeah, did you hear Neuralink got FDA approval? So I mean, we're on our way.
Well, FDA approval for human testing. That's what it was, not for same shit. Yeah.
Basically, this is Elon Musk's future. So get excited. This is kind of actually probably happening. But it's really cool. It's
interesting, Anthony.
It sounds like from what I read on the websites and what I can remember with my boomer brain, it sounds like it's really they did a really good job of building the story around the original IP, and it's pretty well thought out mechanics wise. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, again, I usually tend also to stay away from like super insane colors, vibrant games. What was it? The last, I think, like extraction shooter that looked something along these lines was the Psycho Frontier. And that was also very, it's like very cartoony, very, just animated and stuff like that. But you know what? I'm open. Listen, if I'm playing Star Citizen, I'm open up to this as well too now. So
look at you expanding your horizons.
Look at me expanding my horizons. No more. Yeah, I've actually I've noticed even now, and I was just thinking about this a couple days ago, that it seems like the industry is going. So people get sick and tired of certain genres over a certain amount of time. So I think we're, you know, leaving the immersive, realistic genre and now moving back to futuristic sci-fi games. You still got Starfield on the horizon. Um, Whenever that comes out, and that's only single player, but still.
So
I don't know if you've noticed that, or it just seems like, because even, I mean, even if you take a look at Battlefield's, like, if I'm just using that as an example, their style of gaming went from, like, World War II, then to modern, then to futuristic, then back to World War II, then back to modern, now futuristic. Man, people just kind of like that ebb and flow of those type of genre of games coming out. I feel like maybe that's just me that sees that, but
yeah,
there's a lot of sci-fi games coming out now, I feel like.
yeah, it seems like we're headed that way. Yeah, it's kind of a shift towards that. Um, in the essence of trying to do a good job as a podcast host, I found an article with some bullet points on everything we know so far about Marathon.
Oh, look at that! Someone.
Would you?
Good job, production team. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. All your
thank
hard
you.
work.
Thanks, production team. Appreciate you. Would you care to hear some of these? Blue.
Heck yeah, I'm down.
Cool, man. So it's a PvP extraction
You're
shooter.
Gonna say it anyways.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you anyway. I don't give a shit. Where you can either play as a solo or in a squad of 3. Marathon will have cross save and cross play between PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC. Even though Bungie is owned by Sony, it's not a Sony exclusive. So that's good. But it is, excitingly enough, next gen only. So we might be finally seeing what some of the new consoles can do. Finally. While Marathon will have some sort of narrative, it does not have a PvE campaign or content. It is wholly PvP experience. While Marathon will pay tribute to the original game and use some elements from the lore, it is not a remake or sequel in any capacity. Marathon is not a hero-based game. It will feature customizable player characters called your runners. That's your body that I'm alleging, called runners that you put your consciousness into, that can be built up as you play. In addition to fighting other players, there are at least some amount of AI enemies populating the map. An example is given of players exploring a flooded underground character and encountering some big bad from the original Marathon. So it sounds like,
real quick, of the way Apex Legends kind of did their lore. Again, it's not a sequel. It's not, again, to forget the hero shooter, but it's in the same universe. So
yeah, okay, yeah, I follow now. It's described as featuring player-driven stories, which actually means that the action in each game will be unique and dictate a story of each run. So that kind of is funny, because if you listen to Nikita, the lead developer on Escape from Tarkov, he
what
talks.
game is that?
Escape from Tarkov?
Just kidding.
Never heard of her. So if you hear Nikita, he says his like main vision and driving force between what they do for Escape from Tarkov is that each raid is like a story. Sounds like they're kind of looking at it the same way here.
They're adding to the lore. Yeah.
Well, they want it to be like where like you have a raid and like stuff changes and happens throughout the raid, and you have to be dynamic and change what you're doing, and cool shit happens that you like can't wait to tell your friends about. Like, oh, I had this raid where we did this and this and this. In Marathon, there appears to be a more literal meaning, though, as it's been described that players can change the shape of the game by unlocking new areas. A single team may be the first ones to figure out how to use an alien artifact to open a new zone for everyone. What was the example given?
Interesting.
Marathon is going hard on PvP stability and security. It will be a rare modern game to have dedicated servers. It will have, it will have disconnect protection, and have a dedicated security team. It's one of the biggest issues with DMZ in Call of Duty. If you disconnect, you lose all your shit. Sounds like there'll be a reconnect feature.
Okay, that's a big one. That's a big one.
It sounds like they're really thinking about an extraction shooter from the ground up from the start, which is cool. Marathon is in fact where a number of high-profile Bungie developers have gone, including much of Destiny 2's old PvP team. Marathon is not like most modern PvP games. It will have seasons, and those seasons will have some sort of theme story component to them. Oh, it says like, not unlike. Sorry, I was like, wait, that is like most PvP. like most modern PvP games, it will have seasons with story components to how the map and how the raids go and what's going on within game. So it sounds like it'll have events. It does not have a release date nor a window. Past Bungie saying a long while ago the plan was to have a new IP out by 2025. This is that IP. So by 2025. So 2025 or earlier.
Yeah.
They'll be going dark about Marathon until it's much closer to release. And there will be alphas, betas, and such before the game launch. Again, no timetable. Sounds like we'll hear more in early or mid 2024 if the author, Paul Tassi, of this Forbes article had to guess. So that's everything we know.
All right.
About Marathon.
Okay.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Dude, Redbeard, I am all about AI anti-cheat. That's all I can think
AI
about.
anti-cheat. That'd be interesting. Okay, I'm a little bit more on board with this idea. Bungie was, if I remember, my mind and my language is blanking out. They were the guys that were more in charge of like the older Halos, correct? Am I wrong? Right?
Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
You ready for the next?
Okay. Quick shot.
Woo!
It's
gonna be a really quick shot.
As a quick one. All right.
Battlebit is coming out next month. So I think that's really big. They got a bunch of stuff, really cool stuff and events going on. They were named one of the games to watch at DreamHack. So one of the big DreamHack shows coming up. They're going to be featured on the main stage there. And this is another one of those games that it could be for disenfranchised Battlefield refugees. So there's a 48-hour playtest coming June 9th. And then
and that's the last one before early access, correct? And
then early access is going to be in the month of June sometime. So in the next week or two after that last test, there will be the game releasing for around, allegedly, if I remember right, 15 doll hairs.
That's not bad.
So there you go.
I played it a few times. Yeah, it was, it's cool. You just got to get over the voxel graphics, I feel like, in order to really feel like the mechanics in the game are pretty cool.
Yeah, it's got some cool mechanics. It runs on a sewing machine. Like, I mean, you could run it on anything.
No Raspberry Pi or anything, really.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's I don't think I can talk. I don't think I really want to talk about it in depth too much because I've talked about it a lot on this show. So I don't want to.
What?
Battlebit.
Yeah, no, I think people, it's been out there for a minute. People know about it. Go watch some of Crash's old content if you want to learn more about Battlebit. I'm pretty sure. Do you have a playlist?
No.
Of Battlebit?
No, not a Battlebit.
You gotta utilize playlist, man.
I do. I mean, I have a playlist of Battlefield 2042 news, and then I have a playlist of like FPS news.
So a new one of every single game.
It's under the FPS news.
Yeah, even if there's one video in that game, I have a playlist of every single game I've played.
Well, now you tell me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I do have a video. If I take a look here, where I played it for the first time and I go, okay, here it is. I go over my thoughts in this video. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, Seth. I'm glad the ticker's back as well. Yeah.
Yeah, we brought the ticker back. Yeah. I need to still update it with stuff going on throughout, but yeah, there you go. I put that up there. So that was my thoughts after the first time playing Battlebit. Is that a show?
That's a show. That was a good one. A little bit longer, but it was good. I think we had a lot to talk about, even though it was a bit dry this week. It's been dry for a minute, actually, but
that's what
we didn't even bring up Hella Loose's update, but that could be
I put it in the ticker. I put it in the ticker.
Oh, there you go. See, yeah, the Brits are coming.
two if by land, one if by sea. So yeah, guys, thank you so much. I mean, that's what you can expect with this show. We're gonna find stuff with shooter games to talk about every week. We meet back here on Mondays. And we talked an hour and 45 minutes about not much of anything, and I had a really good time doing it.
I had a good time. I think hopefully the audience had a good time. Chat, hope you had a good time. Audio listeners, Sorry for talking about things you couldn't see, but come check out the VOD if you get a chance.
Yeah, do it. Link
it.
is in the show notes. And join us on Crash Games on YouTube Monday evenings, generally around 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern, for a broadcast where we talk about things live and make shit up as we go and interact with chat. We'd love to have you.
See our lovely faces,
Yeah. Sorry for that in advance. But what you can do, like if you're having trouble with like pests or like mice or something in your house, what you can do is you can take a screen cap of the show and put my face in like your cupboards and stuff, and it'll scare off all the mice. Because that's how ugly I am.
Uninspected visitors sneaking through your snack cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you got kids, put Crash's face. Super good deterrent. I use that all the time with my kid.
Yep. And if you are having a trouble like getting into that carb cabinet before bed, just put my face in there. You open the cabinet, see me, shut it, and go to bed, and you'll lose weight.
No, you're good.
So we're just here to help. That's it. Man.
Oh, jeez.
Well, yeah, guys. Again, thank you so much, everyone that commented, everyone that came through chat, everyone that downloaded it. Can't thank you enough. It means the world to us that Blue and I can come in here and bullshit about games and you guys show up and hang out with us. If you want to support the show, what we ask is just be a friend, tell a friend, share it with somebody, bring it back with you next Monday when we come hang out, share it around. Really appreciate you guys. And we'll hopefully see you next week. How about that?
Yeah, where can they catch you?
Yeah.
Other than just here. Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to do that. Here, Twitter, FPS_Crash, and Twitch. Again, Twitch streams have been fun. Twitch.tv/Crash8, because Crash is 1 through 7. We're already taken. How about you?
Wow.
Ooh, how about you? I know your links.
Yeah, no.
By the way, links are to all that stuff. Mine and Blue's are in show notes descriptions wherever you're at. You'll see it there.
Yeah, no, just Twitter at BlueTheRobot, YouTube. Now they have the @ symbol now too at BlueTheRobot. You can look that up. You got Twitch. I'm back on Twitch. I haven't really streamed there in a minute, but I'm back on Twitch until we get a better streaming site. But Twitch is the way to go for now for me. And yeah, that's about it. That's cool stuff coming out.
Do it. His Star Citizen videos are wild.
Do it.
Do it. Okay, bye guys. See you next week. I love you all.
Bye.